I'm gonna piss some people off right from the start, but there was a time in my many playthroughs of this game where I was pretty anti-Joel. Now, when I first played this game as a teenager and my worldviews were still very black and white, I was Team Joel all the way. My Texas accent thickened overnight when I first played this. And if I'm Joel, no way I'm siding with people killing kids for science, people who betrayed me and betrayed the person I'd come to see as family, as a second chance at something beyond just survival. But then I replayed it in my 20s, and yeah, I still felt that anger at the Fireflies, the Doctor, at Marlene for what they did, what they were doing, and what they knew it would do to Joel and Ellie. But I also began to understand why they did it. When you fight monsters long enough, maybe you have to become a lesser monster yourself, a sacrifice for the greater good or the continuation of anything at all. I was dealing with some inherited anger issues at this time, and I was realizing that the kind of instinctual emotional reactions that Joel listens to in these final moments were exactly the kind of reactions that I was fighting to contain in myself. The sort of it's mine versus yours mentality that the fearful and angry resort to in dire straits and when poorly healed wounds are ripped open by circumstance. I was anti-Joel in the same way that I was anti that part of myself. There's something dangerously clean about anger. When you're hurt and scared, there's a comfort in having something or someone to aim at. Pissed off beats scared every time. That's what I saw of myself in Joel. Not the father, but the wounded animal, snarling at everything that moves too close. The Last of Us opens on one of the darkest moments in gaming history. Like and subscribe right now or I'll make you watch the whole thing. I swear to God, I'm sure there are other intros that have higher body counts, greater atrocities, but humanity doesn't process suffering strictly in numbers. 1 million deaths is a statistic, but one is a tragedy. And this game spends the first 30 minutes introducing you to that tragedy. Yeah, people are burned alive, torn apart, but only 2 deaths in the prologue will bring a grown man to tears. The loss of Sarah and the loss of Joel. And no, I don't mean this. Joel dies here, too. The loss of someone so close can push people, push a guy who was just working to take care of his little girl to commit unspeakable acts in the name of nothing more than waking up for one more morning, to dish out the pain that he feels in ongoing acts of rage and violence. They're the dead that we bury and deaths that we survive. When parts of you harden over so completely that you don't live, you just exist. The game, maybe as a kindness to the player, barely lingers on who Joel was at his worst. We catch him in the rebound when he's found someone he can care about again. When he starts expressing, even in small ways, something like humanity, a step beyond a tribe of one. Joel tries to deny the natural tendency to care about other people multiple times throughout the course of this game for the sake of avoiding pain. He was only able to tolerate closeness to Tess because she was capable and just as closed off as he was. And even with her, he can only repress so much of that urge to protect. He treats emotional distance like armor, as if numbness could insulate him from the next tragedy. But despite his reluctance upon meeting Ellie, the blunt sarcasm and transactional attitude, we can see those walls start to drop almost immediately. That natural instinct to be a father begins to resurface, not because he wants it to, but because it's who he is underneath the damage. The way he keeps her at arm's length feels less like cruelty and more like fear. The same fear that built those walls in the first place. He's terrified to care again, because the last time he did, it shattered him. You can see this in the quiet moments, the way he pauses when she looks out over the city for the first time. It's the first time she's seen something outside of the restriction she grew up in. And for a second, Joel sees her as more than cargo. He sees her wonder, and it scares the hell out of him because wonder means hope, and hope is dangerous. He knows that to care is to risk everything again, and that's a price he's not sure he can pay a second time. Still, something shifts. Not all at once, but undeniably. The protectiveness that creeps in isn't just about keeping her alive, it's about giving her a chance to live, to see that awe again. to maybe build a world where she doesn't have to be afraid. He wants that for her, the thing that Sarah never got. A shot at a real life, not just survival. This future and this girl are all that's driving him, all that's allowing him to make an exception for the horrors that she's seeing to reach this goal. She could know something better. She could have a life beyond isolated bunkers and fear of being left alone. And after hell and high water, watching more good people die, suffering, and crawling through the husk of the world that he grew up in, that faint hope being the only thing making him stand up again after every injury, he finds out that he's marched the only light left in his life to the executioner's block. As much as I was anti-Joel in hindsight during those playthroughs at this time of my life, I always felt how he did when you get here. I felt the outrage at the latest of life's cruel jokes, the betrayal, the despair, but more than anything else, white-hot rage and indignation. Life will take no more from me. I could feel the action of the trigger, the resignation that while there were many different choices to make, I knew we weren't going to try and break her out quietly. I knew we weren't going to negotiate long before we walked through that door. It's so easy to slip into these feelings, like comfy clothes that we've worn throughout our whole history. A whole genre of movies and entertainment is dedicated to it. It feels good to strike back. It feels good to take from those who take from you, to defend yours over all else. It's us versus the world, and anybody can get it if they fucking try us. It feels powerful, right? And this fantastic feeling will be the end of us. I remained on the anti-Joel side of the argument regarding this game's ending until I started to build a family of my own. Just my wife and some pets at the moment, but even with no children, that instinct to protect your own is unbelievably strong. Strong enough that I'm awake with a weapon in my hand in a few seconds when there's a bump in my house at night. Strong enough that I can't sleep until I know I've checked all the doors and that there's a series of locks between them and any potential intruders. Strong enough that I'm wary of anything outside of my circle of family and friends, that society looks like a threat and everything is set up to encourage that. Strong enough that playing this now, I know Joel would have to be the strongest man alive to make any choice other than the one that he makes. And I know that I'm not strong enough either. This is beyond emotion at a certain point. It's instinct. If we want to talk about generational trauma, the same systems that were used to detect if a saber-tooth is stalking me are the same ones I use to detect threats in this world of fake smiles and hidden knives. Scientists have found that the smaller and tighter our tribe feels, the more likely we are to justify violence against anyone outside of it. The same chemical that makes us love our child makes us suspicious of strangers. That's not morality. That's biology. Robin Dunbar proposed that humans, due to the size of our neocortex, can only properly manage about 150 meaningful relationships, and most beyond that gets flattened into stereotypes and generalization. Joel's world was Ellie and him. To him, this wasn't a sacrifice for the greater good. It was destroying his whole world for the sake of the same structure that took away his daughter. The same structure that was vying to take her away again. The family unit is the original tribe. We are biologically programmed to protect our young. That programming fails in some, but by and large, this is true. Keep our offspring alive at any cost is, again, biological more than it is a true decision. There was a time when loyalty to the family and the tribe was the only thing that mattered, when you didn't feed outsiders because if you did, you and your kin could starve, when scarcity ruled everything to a much higher degree. Joel made the same choice that we all do when we prioritize our own, even at the expense of the world. As soon as there was an us, there was a them. This was what victory looked like for Joel. The idea that they could maybe save the rest of the human race was just a bonus to him. He didn't choose Ellie over the Fireflies. He chose his own over everyone else. But the tragedy isn't that this instinct exists, it's that it's being weaponized. In a world where nation-states have nuclear weapons and algorithms can manipulate emotion, tribalism does not protect us. It pits us against each other. Politicians, media outlets, and corporations all weaponize this primal emotion. Fear the outsider, protect your team, rage against the other side. The same evolutionary tool that helped us form communities is now being used to fracture them. The world is designed to keep you angry, distrustful, divided, afraid, because nothing is easier to control than a scared tribe. Now, anyone who's watched my channel before would know that I would never end on the note, this is who we are and we're doomed. There's nothing weaker than a nihilist, and I'd rather die believing in better than live believing in nothing. So what's beyond us and them? Alan Watts once described the individual self as the universe looking at itself, like waves, pretending that they aren't the ocean. And maybe the next step in our evolution isn't to deny our humanity, but to extend it. What if your tribe was bigger? What if your family included people that you've never met? What if the love Joel felt for Ellie could be expanded outward, not diminished until it included everyone? I've thought many times that I don't know if we're capable of this change. Doubt can be incredibly strong when you're constantly bombarded with the worst of what we are, but human history is filled with the ascension of our natural tendencies. Throughout our history, we've done more than survive our biology, we've rewritten its rules. We were creatures of the dark until we mastered fire. We were bound to the land until we bent physics and touched the stars. Empathy, once confined to kin and clan, now fuels global movements. We have the capacity to feel loss for strangers across oceans, to grieve for people we've never met, to adopt causes that offer us no evolutionary advantage beyond the affirmation that we can. We've turned instinct into intention before, and we can do that again. Fire didn't come from fangs or claws, but from persistence, from learning, from generations passing down the wisdom to override impulse in favor of vision. The same mind that once saw only threat in the outsider can now choose to see a sibling. If our biology gave us tribalism, our consciousness gave us the chance to outgrow it. We're having a backslide right now. Older ideologies are having their death throes, lamenting the needed loss of their influence. But that in no way means that it's over. Joel loved one person more than the whole world. Maybe we're ready to love the whole world like it's one person.